AM 1160. He is Indiana County District Attorney Bob Manzi in the studio with us this morning. Our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you this morning?
Wonderful. Weather's looking better. Getting towards spring. Liking it.
The kids are outside playing baseball. That's a great sign.
Yeah, it really is. The big leaguers can't, but at least the kids can. Hey, I wanted to ask you this question because I heard about this happening at a big store over the weekend right here in Indiana County. In the children's toy aisle, a gentleman walked up to two kids, two teenage kids, and asked them if they did cocaine. His actual question was, "Are you into the powder?" And as scary as that is for us to hear, the question is it a common thing that the kids are being approached even in the toy aisle at stores?
I think that's a very uncommon phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times when we hear stories like that and we investigate them, what we find out is it's less about drugs and it's more about a person who may be suffering from some sort of mental health illness.
Oh, yeah.
That finds an inappropriate statement or comment to children like that to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
We've certainly heard of situations where those kind of questions are posited, and most of the time what we come to find out is it's somebody who's dealing with a mental health illness that is probably the underlying concern more than anything.
Yeah, well, it's not that you want it to be either way, but you certainly, I guess from the kids' standpoint, it's better that it's that than if the guy was actually offering them drugs. But drugs are certainly an issue. We've got a very active Indiana County Drug Task Force, and you continue to work with the Drug Task Force to break down this drug trade in Indiana County. And there are other drug issues out there, including the marijuana question that is being asked by Indiana Borough. Should we, the phrase used is decriminalize. I don't know that that's the best way to put it, but to deal with marijuana violations in a different way within Indiana Borough. Does the district attorney's office have a stand on how that should unfold?
Well, I believe we do. We certainly do. The first question that we have is, what is Indiana Borough trying to do? As of today, I'm unaware of any ordinance being written and publicized. I know that there has been statements from the Borough Council as to why they are inquiring about potential decriminalization. But what it is they're actually wanting to do or what that ordinance looks like, I haven't seen it. I don't know that anybody has. So the first question is, I don't want to just jump to some conclusion as to good, bad, and different, because I don't know what they're trying to do. I do want to have a conversation with the Borough Council. My office sent them a letter probably about a month ago. It was read at their Borough Council meeting. And the essence of my letter was that there hasn't been any conversation with any of the stakeholders in the criminal justice system with regards to this. I first heard about it on a news release the day after they asked their solicitor to draft an ordinance. When I reached around to various members of the criminal justice system, I couldn't find anybody that they had a conversation with to determine what steps, if any, they should take with regards to this. So I think the very first part is having an open conversation to determine what their concerns are, then to get to the facts of what those concerns are. For instance, one of the concerns that I heard was that people who have a medical marijuana card and are being prescribed medical marijuana are getting in trouble. And in fact, that's not true. We don't have any cases in Indiana County where somebody who's prescribed medical marijuana that are using it as prescribed are getting in trouble. A second issue that was raised was, and I believe it was, quote, massive fines. The fine for a small amount of marijuana is $300. Many of the proposed fines for ordinances across the state are very similar. So really what I want to do is open that conversation to say, what are the concerns? Maybe if those concerns are alleviated, there's no need for this. If it is a situation that the borough wishes to go forward, I believe decriminalization is not the way to go.
Okay. All right. So we'll continue to watch that whole thing unfold, see where it goes. And obviously, once an ordinance is developed, if one is, then there will be more steps to take and more feedback from you, I'm sure. And before they even craft it, you'd like to have a conversation with them.
Absolutely. I'd like to be part of that conversation. And I think it's important that all of the stakeholders are part of that conversation.
Hmm.
I'm certainly not the end all. I will never tell anybody that I know everything. But I believe if we get all of the stakeholders to the table, then I think as a collective group, we can come to a good end.
Okay. He's Indiana County District Attorney Bob Manzi. We're going to touch on a couple of different topics in different areas today. One of those topics is scams, and they're always a topic. The QR scam is one of the latest, and that has been hit. We talked last month about the 724 area code scam, the grandparent scam. They're always out there, and particularly when you think about the QR code in particular. Um, Especially folks who aren't really adept with the technology, but learning it, they could find themselves getting into a bit of trouble if they find that they've been lured into using that QR code.
Absolutely. This is the QR code, or these are the little square black and white codes that look like a barcode.
Hmm.
You take your cell phone and you scan it, and it takes you to a certain web page. This is a great technology. It can be used for a lot of different good uses. However, like any good technology or anything with a purpose, it can be used for bad.
Hmm.
The QR code really came to the forefront this year with the Super Bowl commercial. That was just a QR code bouncing around your screen,
Yeah.
and there was a million people that ran to their screens and took a picture of it, and it was a great advertisement.
Josh Widdowson being one of them.
Yeah, it was a very, very good advertisement. But the QR codes can also be used to scam folks.
Hmm.
So what happens is you scan one of these codes, and it might take you to a website that looks like you're going to an Amazon, or it looks like you're going to the website you think you're going to. But because the website's so long and you don't look at the entire website, it could take you somewhere nefarious.
Hmm.
And then some pop-up screens will happen to come on your screen, and they look like they're asking you, hey, do you want to go to Amazon, yes or no? Meanwhile, you click that button, and it's providing access to your phone and your private data.
Yeah.
And the one place that I've seen it in recent travels is the QR codes are in restaurants, where they'll have one of the uh, little sheets on your table. You scan it, and you get your menu.
Yeah.
And there has been stories of scam artists that will take one of those sheets, they'll go home, they'll make their own to look exactly like the restaurant, but they have their own QR code in there,
Hmm.
and then they're changing them out.
Yeah.
So it's just another technology that has a lot of very good uses, but we have to be vigilant. We have to make sure that we're not just walking down the street, we see one on a telephone pole,
Hmm.
and I think if I put a QR code on one of our telephone poles, I bet you'll have people during the day scanning it just out of curiosity. But people want to be careful of what they're doing and what they're allowing access to their data and their
I heard of
information.
one a couple of weeks ago that involved in a downtown area, not this downtown, not even in this state, but their parking authority had signs with QR codes by their parking meter stations, and people could pay their parking violation or they could pay their toll, their parking fee there by using the QR code. Well, somebody had come along and had put up their own QR code, and they did exactly what you just said. They managed to get people to respond to them by scanning that QR code, and all of a sudden they were in their phone, and it's really hard to get them out once they get in there.
It's really hard to get out, and it's always certainly one of those things I always say month after month. Check your credit card bills, go through your statements, see if there is any purchases in there that were not purchases you made,
Hmm.
because that may have happened to you without realizing it. And
Yeah.
if they just put a reoccurring charge on one of your credit cards for $25 a month, you may not notice that, and that may go on for months and months.
Hmm.
So, as that backdrop, you always go through your statements, always make sure those purchases are yours. But again, just being vigilant about the technology that can be used for good can also be used to scam you out of your money.
Am I right or wrong that you have an event coming up soon that will help seniors in particular?
We do. We have an event coming up, a senior summit coming up on May 11th. We're going to be hosting it at Rustic Lodge. We're going to be bringing in members from our local law enforcement and members from the state who are going to come in to provide some updated information about scams, some information about legal documents that can help folks out with their business, how to protect themselves with that. What we're going to be doing is hosting it as 2 events, one in the morning, one in the afternoon at Rustic Lodge. This way we can bring plenty of people in to gather that information and protect themselves, but also knowing we can kind of keep some distance and make sure folks are protected, even as we go into springtime.
Yeah. Has the official release gone out about that yet? People won't need to sign up for it. They can just go.
People can just go. We are going to probably have a sign up just because we're trying to determine what our limitations on numbers are going to be.
Okay.
If we do have a limitation on numbers, we're going to ask for people to sign up. But we're hoping to get the maximum amount of people that can come in and get that information without just cramming people shoulder to shoulder in a room.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So more information will be coming out on that. We'll follow.
We would expect most information coming out next month on that.
All right. Very good. We're with District Attorney Bob Manzi this morning. A couple of things happening in the criminal courts, and this just is the way the system works. You get cases like the Weiss trial that take forever to come along. The Price trial is another one. Those things take forever to actually get through the court system. Some of them come in a relatively short period. The Valentine's Day shooting case, of course, one of the defendants is in court today, is he not?
Yeah, that'll actually be the 4th of the 4 defendants. The other 3 defendants have entered guilty pleas and have been sentenced. Those 3 defendants are going to or are in state prison at this time. We have the 4th defendant coming into court today, and we would expect that he will end up in state prison as well.
All right. So it's just one of those things. People want that information. They want to find out, okay, what about this case or that case? And sometimes they're hard to track down, and it's hard for us to be patient. But that's just a case of making sure that everything is properly done so that there are no loopholes that somebody can find themselves back on the streets when they're guilty of the crime.
Yeah, absolutely. That case happened on Valentine's Day of 2020. COVID hit 2.5 weeks later. And we ended up working through those cases, going through periods of time where we didn't have trials and we really couldn't push cases through. But you're right, that information being out there, we try to keep people up to date on our Facebook page. What my office is looking at is a new web page called Crime Watch. What we're hoping is to launch that as something that's going to be able to provide more information about our criminal justice system and what's going on. People always want to know, and I think it's important that people see our criminal justice system is working. It's working to protect the folks of Indiana County. We're at it every day. We're going to be in court today. We're going to be in court tomorrow. We're going to be in court every day of the week.
Yeah.
But being able to get that information out, especially on the important cases where you're seeing very serious violent crime in our community.
How close are we to eliminating the backlog from all of the delays in trials, or are we already there?
We're not there. We're getting there. We're going to have a meeting in about 2 weeks for all of the cases that's on our trial list. We cut it in half the last time we did it. We're hoping to get it down. Our backlog is a backlog we certainly want to get through. I had an opportunity to be at a statewide meeting in February, and in comparison to other counties, our backlog's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
There are other counties where they simply don't look like they'll get through the backlog. They'll have to just, for lack of a better term, open the floodgates to get rid of some cases. But we're certainly working through. I want to give all the credit in the world to our judges and our court administrator that are working diligently every day to get cases scheduled, to get them moving. Members of my office and the police are working hard on our end to get the cases moving. The defense attorneys, they're working hard. We are all certainly working hard to keep these cases moving forward.
Absolutely. All right. He is Indiana County District Attorney Bob Manzi. You heard him mention Facebook. He does have a very active Facebook page from the District Attorney's Office. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160.